let's talk about setting up bait casters. All right, everybody, so welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe for more content, especially if you love bass fishing, because I got you covered when it comes to anything bass fishing. Also, we got members only now, $2 a month. You get early exclusive access to all my content. Helps me out a whole lot with gas and stuff like that. But either way, if you can't do that, it's great. I appreciate you stopping by. If you can, that's great too. I appreciate you stopping by. So either way, that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn. So one of the questions that I got the other day was about setting up this little thing right here. And yes, this one's old. Okay, I've had this since Moby Dick was a minnow. Okay, so this is a very old Quantum, maybe? I don't know. AC 300CX. Either way, I'm just going to kind of use this one for reference for right now, and then we're going to jump over to the one that I use all the time. So this one in particular, and 90% of your bait casting reels, you're going to have a tension knob on your side, which is right below your drag. So this little piece right here, this little knob, that is the tensioner. Okay, and then this right here, this little adjustment right here on the side, that is what's called your brakes. Okay, now we're going to go from the tensioner to the brakes to the drag system. Okay, actually not in that order. We're going to go to the brakes first. That's one of the most important things. So your brakes. So let's understand what the brakes do, and they do exactly what they're called. They're brakes. So it is basically how much, how fast your spool, which is this, spins as line, you know, is removed from it. So when you make that cast, if this is turned all the way down, this thing will turn freely. And that's where a lot of your backlashers are going to come from, okay? Especially if your brakes is not set up correctly. So you need to make sure you're setting this up correctly. Now, I have kind of a rule of thumb. Most reels that I use, I have this set. Like this one right here, it doesn't have numbers on it. This is my Daiwa that I typically use. Okay, let me turn it around, and I hope y'all can see that. So you're gonna have, I don't even know if I can see that. Lord. All right, this right here, these letters right here says free. So which is basically 0. And then this one right here is max, which is basically, we'll just say 10. Okay, typically what I do with most of my baits that I'm running anywhere from 1/4 ounce to 1/2 ounce, I have this set up in between 5 and 10. So typically I will go about the middle. I'll start right there, and then I will adjust my tensioner accordingly. And so what I would do is once I have adjusted my brakes, right? So I've got this adjusted. I've got it, I've got this one probably about on 7, 7.5, somewhere around in there. So it's about almost 3/4 of the way to max. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do to adjust my castability, like on the spinnerbait here, is I'm gonna take my tensioner knob, which is right there under my braking system. And when I drop my spinnerbait, if it doesn't move at all, right? So I have to like bump it to get it to move. So let's try it now. Nope, see? So what I'm gonna do, we didn't have super windy conditions. So I'm gonna loosen my tensioner just a hair. So what I'm gonna do is when I adjust this tensioner, I'm gonna tighten it up to where if I bounce it around and stuff, the spinnerbait's not falling, right? So I can bounce it just a little bit like this and the spinnerbait's not falling. Now, I will start loosening it up just a hair. See right there how the spinnerbait fell? Now I'll mash the button, see how it falls. And I'm barely gonna keep my thumb on the spool, which is where your line is. Barely keep it on there. And as long as that bait's moving kind of slowly down, now I don't want it moving like this. Okay, I don't want it just drooping like that. Okay, I want this bait to where when I go to cast, it's going to move. But I want to be able to also have some free space in case I'm trying to make a super long cast, okay? So if you're not dealing with super windy conditions, you know, you can loosen that tensioner up a whole lot and get a lot more of a cast out of whatever kind of bait you're using. But that's simply how you adjust, you know, whatever bait you're using, okay? I say anywhere from a 1/4 ounce all the way up to a 1/2 ounce. That would be fair in my opinion. 1 ounce you can kind of do it, but it's always going to kind of fall quickly. But typically, if you're using a 1 ounce whatever kind of bait, you're typically not throwing it super far. You're typically you know, pinpointing, like flipping, or you know, jigging a spoon or something like that. But either way, if you do, you can still adjust it that same exact way, so it's no big deal. But always set your brakes up. This is a little cheat code here, quick way to do it. Always set your brakes up between I would say almost 3/4 of the way to max, okay? And then just adjust this tensioner to where your bait's not just falling super fast. Just if it falls just super fast, then ain't no good, okay? Because when you cast, you're going, it's everywhere, and it's horrible. And we all hate picking out backlashes because it wastes a lot of time while we're trying to fish, right? So now let's talk about the drag, because this was the main question on the question that I got was drag. So how do I set up my drag? So it's obviously going to be based on what size line you're using. So, you know, if you're using an 8-pound test, you don't want to be able to really put any kind of tension on that line before the drag starts pulling, okay? And you've got to use a smaller wire hook. So understand that when you're, maybe if you're losing fish or something and you don't really know what's going on, if you're using a heavy wire hook, like a Superline Gamakatsu hook, it's a thick wire hook. So you need to be running at least 15-pound test, at minimum 15-pound test, because when you set the hook, you're going to have to draw back hard to get that hook to penetrate that fish's mouth. Their mouth's hard as a rock, man. So make sure, you know, your drag's kind of tight when it comes to that kind of stuff. Okay, so just your typical everyday 12, 15-pound test. This is 12? No, 15? This is 15. This is 15. Yeah, this is 15-pound test. 15-pound fluorocarbon Seaguar, red label. Red label is what I'm using. All right, so now my drag. I always just grab my line like this, and be careful because you can cut your hand, okay? So don't be a dummy and, okay? Go to the hospital, you ain't be all cut up, all that stuff. But typically what I do, I grab with my 4 fingers like this, and I put my thumb up against this line, and I kind of push. See how I got my line pushed with my thumb? And I typically pull. Okay, and that's pretty tight tension, okay? I mean, I've got pretty tight tension on this. That's about how hard I set up my drag. I want to have, on my Baitcasters, the 15-pound test, I want to have good tension. If you've got good line, like Seaguar, Sunline, Berkeley, any really of the top name brands, you're good, you're good. But I recommend at least no less than 12-pound test on bait casting reels. Do what you want. I don't care, but I'm just saying, me personally, I like running at least 12-pound test. That way I can set my drag higher and not have to worry about, you know, the line breaking when I set the hook. But here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take my drag, which this is your drag right here, and we're gonna spin it all the way back, okay? So this is basically probably what it'd be like if you bought the reel new. So, you know, I can move it pretty easy now. So that means my drag's loose. So now look, when I pull my drag, it just, super easy. I pull it right out. Okay, now what I'm going to do, once it's like that, I'm gonna start tightening my drag system up. See how easy it is for me to turn my drag system right now? Now I'm having to start to put a little bit of tension, a little bit of tension, a little bit of tension. There we go, and it feels kind of stiff now, you know, when I'm tightening up my drag. So I'm gonna take a break for just a second, pull it out. I can pull it real easy. See how easy that is? No good. I'm gonna tighten it up some more, okay? So we're gonna do probably about 10 turns. Try it again. It's a little bit stiffer, but you know, I can still pull it real easy, okay? I don't want to be able to pull that super easy like that. So we're gonna do maybe 3 more clicks. There we go. All right, so I'm actually having to like pull it. I don't know if you can hear the line just clicking and stuff, but either way, that's a super simple, easy way on how to set up your drag and stuff. You know, don't be afraid to put all your settings all the way down to 0 and then adjust from there, because a lot of times that's how you get it super accurate, and all of them's about the same. So it's really simple on setting up all this stuff. It's not a huge deal. So your drag though is going to be critical to you catching fish, because if your drag's too low, you're not going to get a good hook set. If your drag's too high, you're going to break off. They get you in something, you understand? So that's a super easy way to set up your reels and rods, guys. So either way, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.